fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top here.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing!
Racely to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit press sideways.
saved it.
What a save!
Looks to the outside, and Trunkgate goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried, there's contact though.
Slide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashube, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
Next time up, it is final time up. It is everybody up, everybody ready. It's the final round of the championship. The big names are coming to the party, and this is about a final run forward. All the points on the table, and one to get yourself to the very, very top. iRacing Grand Prix Series and Suzuka is the final round of the championship. Match made in heaven. My name's Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Cameron Dance here on SimSpeed TV. We're into the final 2 minutes of qualifying, where James J. Pinsker is currently at the top of the times at this stage, but miracles were needed for certain drivers to get things done, and a result earlier on in terms of the week has meant that Tom Volstra pretty much here, Cam, has it under lock and seal unless there's a miracle event that happens on a Monday night sometime.
Certainly, the amount of points that he has for the week is quite up there in what he needs. So at the end of the day, if no one else can score more than 230 odd points, they're really going to be in trouble.
They certainly are, and this is one of those races where absolutely anything can, and what I would say is normally does happen around this place, and this is one where you honestly can say without a shadow of a doubt that this is going to be fun, and most certainly fun you can put on top of that at the moment. James J. Pinsker doing well at the top, but the surprise is who's in second position right now when it comes to qualifying. It's Marty Piatella who is back here in terms of the racing, Cam. It's the first time we've seen him in a Formula One car, or a Formula One style vehicle, I should say, since the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series.
Definitely, it's been quite some time since we've seen a level of driver in the series and out in an open wheeler doing officials. So it is good to see a number of drivers coming out and giving this a bit of a red hot go. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he goes starting on the front row.
Here was someone who was fighting for the title, Michi Kaiser. He needed 4,700 in terms of strength of field today in order to make that one happen today. He's got till tomorrow to work that one out, but he is not quite there. Qualifying, though, is over and done with, so we can take ourselves over then to the starting grid and figure out who is going to be where and in what position as well. We've said it twice, we'll say it a third time. James J. Pinsker on the front row at 28.539. He'll have Marty Piatella alongside for company. Javi Rose starts from third position with Michi Kaiser in fourth. They are the pretenders trying to become contenders once again. Tapio Markala goes from fifth place with Tom Volstra, who is champions-elect at this stage. He is in 6th position. It looks like there is no way to catch him, with Diogo Oliveira and Klaus Siemens 7th and 8th. Daniel Bieder starts 9th, the Israeli driver, and Jacob Swiderski rounds the top 10.
We have Thomas Nolan, Ronaldo Augusto on the following page on row 6, Ray Griffioen and Julius Fahlbusch on row 7, row 8, Cedric Beale and Harrison Bingham, followed by Thomas Veek and Luke Dowding on row 9, and then rounding out the top 20 on row 10, Dan Buffton and Stephen Chantel.
Absolutely, and just 3 more drivers to go on top of that. Thomas Bartosic there in 21st, John Pat Kelly in position 22, and then in 23rd, not setting a time. It's last the first challenge for a race winner so far this season, Matteo Ugolotti. So work to be done over the course of this 2/3 official Formula One race distance. It's 35 laps, and it's going to be 35 incredibly big laps that we're going to be keeping our focus on today. And there is nothing better than saying this. This is going to be a race which I think absolutely everyone is going to be hoping that they put themselves at the very, very top 4. And there isn't much you can say except what can you find here today. The likes, of course, of Marta Piatella, parts of the VRS Coanda Sim Sport team. You look up and down the order at teams wanting to make this MP430 work. We've also got a lot more on the horizon. The race starts now. It's all about great starts. Javi Rose there from the second row has absolutely blitzed on forward here off the line. He's already up into the race lead as they go through the S's for the first time. What a brilliant start. Same said for Bolstra. He's already up into 4th position as they now charge up through the lefts and rights then as they go up the hill, up the right. Someone's off there into the gravel, so it's not going to be very pretty to get back on, mark my words. Think he's just about got away with it. Markela still trying to attack here against Michi Kaiser, but what a start, Javi Rose.
An absolute storming start by Mundine, and what a start by Thomas Noel as well, from P11 onto the grid into the top 10 already, and not too far off the top 5. So number of drivers making really, really good starts off the line, but not the start that Piatella will have wanted at all.
No, he completely bogged down in Marta Piatella. He's now in 3rd position. Bit of contact there in the middle as they went on through. I think that was around Klaus Siemens there, who was having himself a little bit of issues. Daniel Bieder wants to go around the outside of Thomas Nolan, get that place back in the Positive Sim Racing McLaren MP430. He can't find the move. Then down at the spoon curve, a very tough place to make one happen here. But crucially, there's been a few bumps, a few bangs, but nobody really has run into many troubles as they climb up once again. And look at the next section of road. There's Cedric Beale side by side going up here to get through. That's Diogo Oliveira, I believe, he's trying to fight that one out with, and I think he's okay at the moment, but for the time being anyway, looks like Dan Bieder close, but no cigar. Javi Rose has the lead, 1 lap scored in the book.
It's been a pretty clean start at the front of the field. There was a few moments further back in the field, but otherwise it's been a pretty clean start. Piatella nearly managing to find a way on James J. Pinsker, but couldn't quite get there in the end. You can see down the front straight, though, there you go side by side. Beale's involved in there as well. Gusto's going to hold on. So Dowding's going to try and challenge the place, but not quite going to be able to get there in the end.
Good move from Reynaldo Augusto, moves up into 14th place. He's got a compatriot in Diogo Oliveira just in front, so that will be a scrap between those two drivers, hoping they can maybe proceed forward, and Matteo Ugolotti as well. Don't count him out of proceedings here. He definitely wants to be jumping up through the order, finding places, thinking about the move down the inside then of Thomas Veek, and he's not going to find that one pretty easy, I would say. He's looking for it now here. Oh, he gets 2 tires on the grass. He thinks about the inside here at the Dunlop hairpin, and easy as you like down the inside. A well-worked move to work things out. I want to look, though, up here because Marta Piatella is through, up into 2nd position now. He has got by James J. Pinsker on the inside of Spoon, and suddenly this opens the door up here for one Mr. Tom Bolstra to maybe think about the podium. Has he got himself eyes to the inside? You bet he does, as he wants to try and work a way on through. That's beautiful at 130R.
And it was a very, very good move by Volstra to move up into the podium position. Nearly runs into the back of Piatella on the way into the Casio Triangle and goes a little bit deep as a result. And Pinsker's going to have a very, very nice run down the front straight here. He's going to try and get the position back. Volstra goes very defensive, but James J. Pinsker not quite able to take advantage.
See how dusty it was on the inside. That's where you get a lot of that build-up as they go through. Piatella, fastest lap of the race, 1:31.8. Lap 3, DRS. The drag reduction system is in full effect for these drivers, and now if they are within a second, they have the chance to attack. Marty starting to find his feet here and try and get back to Javi Rose at the front of this pack and try and do very well. The top 5 is Rose, Piatella, Volstra, Pinska and Kaiser at this stage. Michi Kaiser will be feeling like he has kicked away his opportunity because he's had 4 rounds this season where he just simply hasn't shown up.
Yeah, certainly, and it's just going to show that he could have very well been in a very good position at this point in the championship had his season gone right and had he also shown up to those 4 weeks.
Exactly, that is the key as they go through the 200 right, which is actually a right. The 130R is actually a left-hand corner, which is, funnily enough, one of the facts that we got going on here. But Michi Kaiser, half a second behind James J. Pinska. He will be able to grab the DRS as they go onto the front stretch. Everybody then inside of the top 8 get DRS except for Javi Rose at the front. That tells you all you need to know right now and how close they've been off of the start, all on the brakes, all into the Casio triangle once again, and no moves on the horizon for anybody here. But Piatella, from looking like he was going to break away, all of a sudden is looking backwards because Javi Rose sets the fastest lap, suddenly pipped by champions-elect Tom Volstra.
Yeah, ever so slightly quicker was Volstra that time by, but still stuck behind Piatella for the time being, so he needs to try and get a move on if he wants to try and hunt down Javi Rose, who's just sailing away from the rest of the pack here.
Absolutely is. He's 1 second clear at the moment, just by a little bit as well. He's definitely proving that he's got himself every single license, I would say, to go out there and to attack and to really work forward every single place that he desperately needs. And this is Diogo Oliveira and Julius Falbush in their own scrap at the moment for 12th and 13th position out there on the road here on lap 4. You start to think, you start to wonder here, if you're those sorts of drivers on the brakes in the mid-pack, how is strategy going to play into your hands today? Almost everybody on the soft compound tyre, the red wall tyre here today, but this is a track which is pretty typical for being very difficult on tyres, especially in the opening sector.
Absolutely, and very, very difficult to pass on as well, especially in these high aero cars where you've got majority of that first sector and a lot of the rest of the track as well impacting you in the way that the aero pushes. So you've really got to think about it in 2 respects, in that you want to save those tyres, but you've also got to try and work the strategy to your advantage. So we'll be surprised if we see a few drivers trying an undercut. As you can see there, Swiderski trying to get a move done on Siemens, but not quite able to get it done.
No, not quite able to get it done. Fastest lap of the day goes to Mats Piatella, 1:31.242 as he crosses the line. Look at the train behind Klaus Siemens. Right now, it stretches all the way back to, I believe, Reynaldo Augusto in the 14th place. So mark this a 6-car train as Swiderski, first in line, might have to try and save his ticket for another day here because the likes of Ray Griffioen would definitely want to get through. He's been so good this season, has Ray, in the European time slot earlier on in the week.
He's been a bit of a quiet achiever, has Ray, and we even saw that in the likes of the Williams era where he was just able to put in nice consistent results. Wasn't right at the front of the field, but was just able to pick off those positions and score solid points at the end of the day. And he's run a little bit deep into one of the corners, and he's going to allow Foulback to try and come around the outside. He's not quite going to be able to hold it there as Julian, but he's going to get a nice solid run, and he's
hello.
trying to challenge the position. Barely going to do it, and Griffioen going around.
Just like that, he spins it. He's got to work out a way to turn around fairly cleanly. And right now, he's going to have to do the old turnaround right now as he is in 18th position. And he'll get himself going off the racing line. Everybody will breeze on by. A real shame for Ray Griffioen there, who was trying to get through. It all started at the Degners, the second Degner where he ran into troubles. And then from there, it got a little bit antsy. And then everyone just decided, you know what? That was a bit of a battle. Griffioen left too much room through that right-hander. And that pretty much ended that. Look, though, at the front of the field between Rose Piatella and Volstra here. All of a sudden, Volstra trying to dive down the inside here. He's got some overlap in the fiercely forward car. Oh, nominated for a Simi for best newcomer if part of VCO. But not able to get himself alongside Martin Piatella and make that move. Javi Roche has been clawed back in. The top 4 right now are really in with a good shot in this race. It's no guarantees. This is a really competitive battle that we're seeing at the front.
And you can't rule out Mishi Kaiser either, who's running effectively the same pace as what Piatella and Rose are at the moment. So it's anybody's guess as to who's going to come away with any of these top 5 positions.
Exactly, and this is where strategy becomes so vital. Mistake from Volstra, though, through that Dunlop hairpin, couldn't put the power down. He put it too early, and suddenly James J. Pinsker's got a mother run here trying to get this into Spoon. He's not in position, though. This is a tough corner to get it right. He will run wide. He'll take 1x of his 17 before a drive-through penalty comes in on the board, but Volstra's got to do that work all over again. Look at him. He's dropped 1.1 seconds.
He has dropped 1.1 seconds, and you can see the gap is just massive now as a result. And Pinsker is all over the back of him on the way through 130R and on the way into the Casio Triangle. He should have DRS this time by as a result, and it's going to be fairly close. But look at the drive that Volstra's got out of the Casio Triangle. Just absolutely incredible.
And on cue, Javi Rose sets the fastest lap of the race, a 31.118. That puts him up at the top of that board as he tries to get things going. But Pinsker definitely not close enough then to make that opportunity. Someone's around, it's Piatella. Piatella's turned around, and is he going to be able to get okay going through? Noel goes through, Vida goes through, and everyone looking at Martin Piatella, who's got to do an 1,000,000-point turn. I think he has just taken the toe away back to that one. So Martin Piatella effectively out of the race then on that one moment alone. So easily done, and so easily now out.
Just a simple little error that I wouldn't have expected someone of his caliber to have made a mistake like that. Just a matter of coming off the corner and just ever so slightly touching the AstroTurf on the outside on the acceleration. So really unfortunate. Did end up hitting the wall as well, so that would have been front wing damage. But yeah, really, really unfortunate.
Oh, it's the smallest grab of AstroTurf and grass, and it's just enough to unsettle and unbalance the McLaren MP430. And it's so easy to do here around a track like this, where you have to still have some of those elements which you get in more traditional racing. This opens up everything now. Javi Rose leads, Volstra second, Pinsker's third, and Kaiser is now up into 4th position. Worth noting that in the earlier splits, the highest winner in terms of points so far is Tom Volstra, 230 points here so far. And he is now only 1.8 seconds behind Javi Rose at the front of the field. And now he's got to do the tough job, which is drag along James J. Pinsker with him.
Yeah, certainly. And he probably doesn't want to be dragging James along at all if he wants to try and catch up to Javi Rose. But that said, it'll be interesting to see whether Pinsker decides to just stay out there and use Volstra as a little bit of a tow car on the way towards, well, as they catch up to Javi Rose. But it's going to be interesting regardless. And if he does make an undercut, whether it's going to work or not.
Yeah, it's all about whether this is going to work and whether this is going to really play out here for these drivers, as they want to hope that they are absolutely primed and ready and in position here to make sure that they can get the go-ahead, as Mishi Kaiser there in 4th. Tapio Markela hasn't had the best of seasons. He's in 5th place, but definitely someone who can be knocking on that door and challenging for big results. As we take a little look at Matteo Ugolotti, he's already through on Luke Dowding now, and Ugolotti, who started dead last, is up into 12th place, but Dowding's trying to fight back here, and he's got a really good run. Runs out of road, though, if he wants to get through.
He just decided to sit on behind Ugolotti, knowing that he's got decent pacing. Let's just use him to tow him along and bring him towards that front of the field. And Ugolotti has done pretty well to end up where he is at the moment. He's had a few different moments to contend with, but he's certainly managed to get through in the end. So he's not too far away from this little 3-car training in with Swiderski, Oliveira, and Filebush. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Exactly, and this is the key. It's got to be all about moving forward, gaining places. Here is Oliveira in the draft of Swiderski. You can see how dusty it is on the outside line as they go in towards turn number 1. Not going to find it through 2 either. So Oliveira, another lap's worth of waiting, and this is the frustrating part when it comes to racing around here. This is a tough place to make passes because this sector is all about dirty air effect. You cannot follow very aggressively behind drivers through the S's section. And when you get onto the likes of 130R, you're hoping for good corners in the middle sector to gather all your time back up again. In fact, look at how much Oliveira's lost here. He's brought Falbush back into it.
Really has brought Falbush back into it, and I guess that is one of those things about this track, is that you've got that well, you've got to try and work out that balance between how much downforce do you run, and do you run a little bit less to try and keep yourself competitive in a straight line, or do you run a little bit more to try and counter the aero wash that you've got? So it's really one of those things about this track that just there's no right or wrong way to go about it in terms of setup.
Absolutely, and it's all about the setup as well, because this is maybe a medium downforce track. Some would say it's a high downforce track. Some would even dare to go on the low downforce package and try and work out whether that's going to be the best way that everyone pulls themselves along and gets themselves on forward. But for the moment, it looks like Jacob Swiderski is able to stave off the challenges of those behind at the moment. Look, though, at Julius Falbush. He's getting a really good run here through the final corner, because Oliveira is diving into the pits then at the end of lap 10, which is very early. Oliveira does tend to use his tyres.
Yeah, very, very early. But that said, not a bad thing to do to try and get a bit clean here, but he is going to suffer quite a bit in the later part of the race. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and where he's going to end up coming out. It looks like he's going to end up coming out actually all the way down just inside the top 20 as well. So it will be quite fascinating to see what happens. And Hugo Lotti's actually down the order as well. So looks like he's had a moment somewhere. No, he has actually come into the pits last lap by.
Yeah, he has pitted as well, so he is another one of those takers down on the lane. No surprises there. Oliveira comes out ahead of Hugo Lotti by about 4.5 seconds then on track on the yellow walled medium compound tyres. So they're going to try and go long and try and work this one back into the racing that they have in this stage. So Hugo Lotti and co, their work to be done. This is, though, getting interesting with the likes of Michi Kaiser. He cannot keep up with the pace of James J. Pinsker and co in front, and now Markela is all over him at this stage when it comes to the timing board that we can see right now. We're focusing a little bit on Hugo Lotti right now. He's actually on the white-walled hard tyre, but look at this from Tapio Markela. Still not close enough to make that move, and he was a 10th behind through the entirety of the run to 130R, and in comes Michi Kaiser to take a stop.
Yeah, so everybody's starting to dive down onto the lane to get some new, fresh tyres. Actually, very, very interesting that Hugo Lotti does have those white wall hard tyres on. Not really something we've seen from anyone really in this series so far, but certainly going to be shaking up the strategy by the looks of it, and definitely planning to go long. So we'll have to wait and see what happens and whether that's going to actually help him or not.
Well, Kaiser will drop down the order and be out and away again. He was probably waiting for a gap to do something different, try and win this race outright. You feel if you can get to about lap 17, though, here, Cam, on these sets of soft compound tyres, you can go soft, and work it over to the end. But you have to be worried about, well, how much are they going to be hitting the cliff in terms of tyre drop-off here, as Jacob Swiderski here has actually gone through on Klaus Siemetz, has jumped up into 7th position now. Now Siemetz is the one who's going to be dealing with Julius Falbush.
Yeah, certainly is going to be the one dealing with him, but it's still, there's a bit of a gap, and Augusto's actually gone off at the hairpin as well on his own, so that's going to take a little bit of pressure off the back of Falbush, but certainly Siemetz has got his hands full with Swiderski at the moment, who's still managing to just do enough to hold on.
Yep, he's doing enough at the moment, but everybody knows that the second half of the race is going to be where this starts to open up and strategies start to come into play at this stage. Here is Reynaldo Augusto trying to get back through in this field. He's got Stefan Chantal, who currently is the occupant of position 10 right now going through, and I've just noticed that Tom Bolstra has gone and covered Michi Kaiser. He's down in on the lane here, lap 12 of 35.
Yeah, so he has certainly tried to time that right and use that strategy to his advantage. We'll see where he comes out up and away, and he's on the medium tires, sorry, so he's going to come out just in front, or just behind Bingham by the looks of it. No, just in front, so he's a little bit in clean air, but certainly going to need a little bit of work to do.
Well, crucially, he's ahead of Harrison Bingham, who's about 4 seconds down the road. of Michi Kaiser. So a good stop, a good decision by Tom Volstra. This will force the hand of pretty much everybody else right now. We're starting to see mistakes from those drivers on the soft compound tyre, and that is what is going to be dragging everybody down. The likes of Luke Dowding also down in on the lane, making his stop. But for now, it's about a good lap here for Tom Volstra, the champions-elect at this stage. There is Swiderski. He is with now Reynaldo Augusto. They both came in, they both came out, and pretty evenly together.
Yes, certainly. And I'm actually surprised that they've actually come out as close as they are, because of the fact that Augusto's had a bit of a moment 2 times in that last lap.
10
so
seconds.
It's certainly been increased with those mistakes.
It has, and it's Oliveira in front, actually, where Swiderski's battle is right now, and you can see where Diogo Oliveira is as he tries to chase on down. Looks to me like maybe drivers are thinking about pit lane time. It might be the time of all times, because Klaus Siemitz here jumps by Pinsker and Markela and Knoll, who I think are all deciding it's time to dive down into the pits, make their stop, and hopefully get out and away again. Has this been a really good stop for James J. Pinsker? Remember, he's racing against one Mr. Tom Volstra, and in fact, Volstra has just got through in that stop. So Pinsker here, he's going to be worried about Bingham, who has stayed out on that run, and ultimately he does get 4th place, but Volstra crucially has got himself daylight between himself and one Mr. James J. Pinsker. Now, what will this signal here for Javi Rose? Surely he's got to come down in.
Yeah, surely he has to pit at some point based on that pace and what's going on behind him. He's really, although not doing too bad of lap times, so it's going to be very, very close, but certainly he's going to have to think about coming in at some point.
Absolutely, and now this becomes a case of where can you find that time? Volstra and Pinsker here are about 2.5 seconds separating each other. Michi Kaiser is able to gain 3 seconds on Tapio Markela when he came down into the stop. I wonder here if Javi Rose is maybe going to be dropping quite a bit behind. There is, said Michi Kaiser, in 6th place right now as he tries to chase down Harrison Bingham, who is yet to make his stop.
Yes, so it's really is a very big head scratcher for sure as to what he's trying to do here. Maybe he is trying to use those tires up as much as he possibly can to then fight later on, but it really is a head scratcher. So we'll find out and see what happens, but certainly Bingham's gonna be the cork in the bottle very, very shortly for Michi Kaiser, who's on a much fresher tires.
Javi's going for the soft. That's the only reason I can think, and he gets a little bit out of the sorts there through the first Degner, gets it nicely bundled up for the second one. But really, what Javi Rose is trying to do right now is he's going to have to try and pass everyone on that second set of the compound tyres. You look at those on the medium set, they're going to be slower in the early stages. He's got to be lightning fast in making those places, because once those tyres go off, they go off at the same rate as they do in the mediums. So he's going to be pretty much on the same amount of ice as those have who have already pitted.
Yes, certainly. So really is going to have to push very, very hard here to use the tyres that he's on at the moment to then have the tyres for the end. So he's really going to have to look after that second set if he wants to have some form of an advantage.
And it's that advantage he's looking for. He needs to cement second in the championship, does Javi Rose. It's not safe to Michi Kaiser behind him at this stage, who is in 6th position right now. And Javi Rose knows as he stays out to start his 15th lap of this event. 21 laps remaining here at the circuit, which is known as Suzuka. This is all about chasing down. Now, here is Michi Kaiser. He's on the back of Harrison Bingham now, and he needs to get through PDQ if he wants to be pretty much moving the way that he knows he can through 130R. Needs some good time on the brakes. Harrison Bingham gets well out of the way, and Kaiser has overcooked it on the brakes. He'll take a slowdown penalty for his troubles right now as he'll get himself up to speed. Bingham says, "See you, mate. I'm going straight on through."
He certainly does, and just blasts on by ASAP. So we'll be happy with that to try and gain another position.
And Klaus Siemitz down in on the lane then. I believe John Pat Kelly as well has dived down in. Now this is interesting here from Klaus Siemitz. He's come back out on another set of the soft compound tyres, so he is the first of them trying to go 2 and 2. The TQ Engineering driver comes in. He puts a yellow-walled set of medium compound tyres. So there's the difference maker that we see. Some want softs right now, some want mediums. It's the crossover point that we see in this race. And Javi Rose, you would say, is the real big question mark in this one. He's going against the grain in this sort of race, but he has been known on soft strategies to run into troubles late on in these sorts of events.
Yeah, he certainly has, and he's had some bad luck in that respect, unfortunately. So we have to wait and see, and hopefully he can take a final victory here today, but certainly is going to have to make sure that he doesn't make any mistakes and really does run a nice, clean race to the end from here.
Yeah, and he's got to try and get himself to the end pretty consistently. This is not the time where you want to be in trouble, but he does come in here on lap 16 of 35. He'll leave himself 19 laps to work with here, and this is prime for the soft compound tyre, and he stayed on it. And where does he come out then compared to everyone else? It was such a quick stop that he got himself in and out again, and crucially, he is ahead by 1.5 seconds. What a stint on old soft Javi Rose has put in.
Yeah, absolutely. Although looking at the pace differential, it's not really been all that much different compared to Volsha. If anything, it's actually probably slightly more in favor of Rose on average. So really has done quite well on the much older tyres to keep it up at the pace that the likes of Volsha and Penske have been doing on much newer tyres.
The big key here is how much gap can Javi Rose get before those tyres hit the proverbial cliff and say, no more, we don't want to be racing anymore. He's got 19 laps to work with here. That's crucial. It's 3 laps more than he's going to have done on his first stint. But crucially as well, worth keeping in mind here, Cam, that the fuel burns off, and that makes cornering a little bit easier. That's why you can pit earlier than half distance and make it home on a set of tyres.
Yeah, it's also the reason like you can do a soft strategy is that once the car's lighter, the tires don't burn up as quick, and why you probably find some drivers in the early part in the first stint actually pinning so early because of the fact that the weight's just burning up the tires so much more compared to before. And just saw Javi Rose go a little bit deep on the way into the Casio trial from just touching the grass, but managed to hold on to it luckily. But yeah, it's one of those things about this car where you've got to be nice and smooth and look after those tires in the first stint and then rag the car later on when you've got a nice light fuel load.
On the brakes, here's Daniel Bieder. He's trying to move up now into position number 6, get by Thomas Knoll. It's medium versus medium as they look to attack here onto the front stretch once again. DRS wide open here for Daniel Bieder. He'll think about moving to the inside as late as he can, and he's down on the inside then, has to take the narrow line, but he has got the place. So Bieder has had a really consistent season this year. He's in 6th place right now and doing a very good job.
Yeah, he certainly is doing a very good job and has had a very decent season as well by the way that he's had it. So it's going to be not too bad of a finish here with the way that things have gone for him over the course of the season, the way that this race has gone as well. And he's not too far off the back of Michael as well. The pace is about the same, so probably not quite going to be able to catch him in the next few laps, but certainly is in a slight favour of Bieder at this stage.
It is in favour of Bieder. Harrison Bingham has come out of the pits. He's along with Ray Griffioen right now here for 15th and 16th position here as they chase as we are at the halfway stage of this race with Javi Rose in control at the front of the field. Now it's Diogo Oliveira's turn. Try and find a way through as he wants to jump up into position number 7 in this race. There's smoke there off in the distance. Somebody has found themselves a bit of trouble under braking, but Oliveira's fine at this stage. He wants to try and attack and move forward and gain an extra place, but he's not doing enough. And in fact, it is very telling that he just sits behind and waits because he didn't want to use anything there on the brakes. Down to just second gear as they go through the lefts and rights and back on the power once more to attack another lap.
And even DRS enabled this time by for Oliveira to try and get on by Thomas Knoll. Probably not quite going to be able to get on by and be close enough, but I've just seen that Michael has actually made a mistake on that last lap. So Daniel Bieder is now all over the back of him and on for a shot at a top 5 here.
I think that was the smoke that we saw down at the Sputin corner then that we potentially saw. It could have been Tapio Markela who dropped back 4 or 5 seconds off of the back of Michi Kaiser. So Markela all of a sudden in a trouble. But Diogo Oliveira here up through the SS section, now through the big long left. which leads to the 2 Degner curves. He's not in position. He is not there to go and make that one happen right now, but he is still being patient, and sometimes patience is one that's going to be rewarded. As you can see, those 2 drivers in front are Bieder and, of course, that is one Mr. Tapio Markala.
Yeah, certainly, especially around here where you're constantly trying to fight that aero push and also try and find a way on by someone with the tyres that you've got on. So it is one of those tracks that requires a lot of patience and is your friend around this sort of track.
Absolutely is. James J. Pinsker, though, has put in some really good lap times as of late. He's brought the gap down to just 1.5 seconds at this moment, and he's trying every which way to get within that 1 second barrier that allows him the DRS, the drag reduction system, to go out there and attack. It's a tough race to try and get through. We are only on lap 19 now of 35, just 17 laps to go here in this race. And Tom Volstra knows that James J. Pinsker wants to put one over on the champions-elect. He wants that move, he needs that move, but at the moment, it's not allowing him anywhere near.
Yes, certainly. He's got a big gap, big hole that he needs to close up very, very quickly, but certainly isn't going to be able to do that anytime soon in the next few laps at least. The pace is looking very, very good from Pinsker, though, so we'll be interesting to see whether he's going to end up being able to do it, but certainly is going to need to use up those tyres a lot in order to catch up to him.
Absolutely, and it's all about that catch-up at this stage. He knows that he is in a really strong place to really apply pressure onto the champions-elect right now, but we look at this very, very dirty visor that Diogo Oliveira has right now. You've got to do some cleaning, son, if you want to go and make sure that you see everything. We get a nice look here as we go through the next left-hand bend here of the Spoon Curve. This is such a tough corner here, Cam, because the track falls away from you, falls away from you, falls away from you, and it's just an awkward apex every time.
Yeah, certainly. It's, I guess, the corner of 1,000 different lines, really, where you can go in a little bit deep and then hug the inside, you can hug the outside, you can double apex it, you can do pretty much anything, and either way you're going to get the same sort of rump, but you certainly got to try and optimize the exit as best as you can. So it's one of those corners that really does a head in as a driver, but at the end of the day, if you hit it right, you're going to be very, very satisfied.
Absolutely, you are around this place. This is one of those circuits which is just so rewarding to go out there and drive. It's a real classic track as well, and one which will forever be remembered in the annals of history as one of the great racing and sim racing circuits in the world. And for the time being, Diogo Oliveira is not in a position to go out there and to capitalize to move up through into 7th position. Thomas Knoll very much is equal and starting to pull away here and almost break the 1 second barrier. Speaking of 1 second barriers, that's what James J. Pinsker's just jumped into right now. He is now thinking about, okay, 2nd position may just be on for me right now in this race, and could be on here with just 16 laps to go, 15 across the line.
Yeah, it's very, very possible that it could happen for him at this stage. If he keeps on putting in the laps that he is, he's going to be in with a very, very good shot, and it's going to happen eventually. So he just needs to keep putting in these nice, clean, and very fast laps compared to what Volstra is doing. We'll see if Volstra responds this time, but I don't think he's going to. Comes across the line at 32.2 compared to a 32.0. So still Pinsker, the quicker out of the two of them.
Yep, and just creeping into that range where he can be a nuisance there to the back of Tom Volstra. You can see it's 9/10 of a second right now, and he's doing very, very well through every corner. At the start of the season, he was like, what am I doing on pole position? Now here at the back end of the season, Cam, this has been crucial for James J. Pinsker. He's been fantastic. He's deep into the painters. Now Daniel Bieder's got the back of Tapio Markala still, and he can't get by for the moment, but he's within a range to go out there, attack, and get inside the top 5.
Yes, certainly. It's one of those things where he just needs to keep putting in those laps, and he'll eventually get there in the end with the way that he's been driving so far. Knoll still doing okay to stay where he is at this stage, but eventually I'd say the move is probably going to happen at some stage for Oliveira rather than when, not if.
definitely looks like a when more than an if. Oliveira not finding himself the opportunity just yet. Tried to get a good run there off the exit of the Dunlop hairpin. It's an uphill hairpin, which means that you can carry a little bit more speed through it than you would do traditionally other hairpins under braking, but into the left, that's descending down the hill through Spoon. And now how much can you serve up on the back stretch of this track and attack the next section? Has he got enough here? Does one Mr. Diogo Oliveira to make this a reality? At the moment, the answer is going to be no at this stage. Noel does run wide, but the position is held. But the gap now, second and third, is down to just half a second count.
Yeah, it certainly is very, very close now, and Pinska's all over the back of Tom Volstra as a result of that incredible pace that he's been putting over the last few laps. Not quite sure how he's managed to do it, but certainly has been doing some very, very nice laps and lap times so far. It was actually roughly the same pace as what Harvey Rose is doing currently on those soft tyres. So he's doing a very, very good job at this stage, and he's going to be on for a very solid result. Possibly even catch Harvey Rose if he keeps this sort of pace up.
Well, the big key here is that Javier Rose has to hit a cliff, and has to hit a cliff very, very quickly. They only have a premium do those soft compound tyres. The mediums here being run by James J. Pinsker and Tom Volstra. They are just in the prime of their life right now, and they are trying to use up that much tread and rubber, give themselves the real advantage here. Onto the straight, heading towards 130R up the hill. One of the very few figure eight circuits is this Suzuka track, and it's one that you don't often remember as a figure eight until you realize it's a figure eight.
Yes, certainly. It's from above, you don't really think well, on paper, you don't really think of it as a figure eight, but certainly is one of those things that you only notice when you're actually looking at it properly. So it is quite a fascinating way in how they've done it, and does it make this track quite fascinating in that respect. But certainly it's one of those things where you just more or less as a driver don't really take too much notice of it.
Certainly don't. Tom Volstra again, that gap half a second, and this is what we've seen from Tom all season long. When he gets under pressure, he just has an extra gear to go, okay, you're there? Well, I'll try and keep up then. You try and stay with us. Look at this, down the inside. Here comes Diogo Oliveira. Finally, he gets that one done. He's been staring at the back of that blue box there for about 10 laps trying to find that one, and he's got it through.
Yeah, he certainly has finally managed to get the job done in the end, and he's going to be relieved to finally have the clean air in front of him. That is no longer, well, it was in Noel's favour, but certainly he's going to be on the charge for Daniel Bieder, who's still all over the back of Michael and still hasn't made the move yet. So it'll be interesting to see if Oliveira can catch up to this little battle pack ahead of him.
Well, it's that battle pack where it all starts to get very, very interesting. Oliveira has dropped about 4 seconds, though, in terms of that one, because Dan Bieder was only a second ahead of him when he first got onto the back of Thomas Knoll, which made life incredibly difficult for the driver who started in 11th place and climbed up to 7th before now settling here in 8th position. Right now on the road, it's a very, very tough battle that they've got, but the key here is that you've got 5 drivers, and look who's just behind Thomas Knoll right now. You've got Jacob Swiderski jumping onto the rear potentially soon, and Julius Falbush will definitely want to be in with a shot as well.
Yeah, certainly they'll all want to be in with a shot at some stage, and the way it's going, it's looking like it's going to be a very, very possible thing with the way it's going. So it's going to be possibly almost a 5, if not more, car train to battle for those positions.
Tapio Markela going defensive then on the front stretch against Daniel Bieder. It's Finland versus Israel as they go through the lefts and the rights here, going up the hill, through the next right-hander, down the hill, and then you've got this big left, of course, which was the final corner taken by one Mr. Jules Bianchi. Rest in peace, my friend. As we now start to see this battle really get intense here, and this is where you start to see things go well. Pinsker's got a really good effort here. He just needs a good spoon, and he's going to be in for a great opportunity to go through. And sometimes, you know, this is going to be all about how you attack and how you position yourself to attack. But he loses 0.2 of a second on the exit of the Spoon corner, and Tom Volstra, again, is able to just cover it off as easy as you like. Pinsker is pretty much pinned and stuck.
Yeah, he pretty much is at this stage, though. He's looking very, very close. But again, Volstra with a very, very good exit out of the Casio triangle. So he's just not able to take advantage and be fast in the places that he needs to be.
And that's the key. You've got to make sure you're in position to make that move. You can't take the traditional line. You've got to start looking for those percentage moves, Cam. And those are the ones which really do test the mettle of a driver. Can you make a 50-50 move? Can you make a 30-70 move, a 20-80 move, and do so cleanly?
Yes, certainly, and you really do need to make sure that you can maximize those opportunities as well. So, in sort of these cases where if you can't find a way on by, you've got to try and use the advantages that you've got to find a way on by. So he's really testing his patience here, is James Pinsker, and he's gonna again have to try and work this one out as best as he can.
And all the while, Javi Rose has built himself up now a 6.5 second margin at the front of this field. Volstra is under pressure and he knows it. He doesn't have to do anything. He's racing this one for fun. He's already got points in the back pocket. There's the track conditions you can see on screen right now. It's 24 degrees. In-sim time is just after 10 past 2. So it's a cold day today here at Suzuka, and that is very, very interesting for a very important reason, Cam, and that is that Japanese asphalt has a tendency to get a little bit more easier with higher temperatures, and you can see some really big temperatures around tracks like Okayama here in iRacing where they hit 60 degrees track temp. Here at 20, this is a track that is very much not activated.
Yes, certainly. It's one of those tracks. Well, it's one of those things about Japanese asphalt is it's very, very slippery, but the move's on for second place. Spinsker's going to try around the outside. Not quite going to be able to pull up alongside and get the job done through turn number 1. He's going to have to sit stage for another lap, but certainly is showing that he's got the pace and he knows he can make the move. So he just needs to do it one more time, and if he can get the run, it's going to happen.
He certainly is starting to prove that the fiercely forward driver in front of Tom Volstra is not in the prime position right now. He knows that he's playing defensively right now, and he is dropping time after time after time. Javi Rose is setting purple lap times, mind you. Last time by, he put a 1:30.9 in on the board. The only driver to have broken the 1:31s over the course of this race. And for the moment, Volstra, he's just looking behind in his mirrors. It's the only focus he has left here in this race. No worries about Kaiser and co. They're 12 seconds down the road and more at this stage. On the brakes into the spoon curve once again. It is a case to be made for James J. Pinsker. He's got to find a way through to try and say, I can beat the reigning champion, or the champion-elect, I should say, at this point in time, and really prove to the world that I belong at the top echelon here of the iRacing Grand Prix series.
Yeah, absolutely. He wants to try and use that for his bragging rights, but also wants to try and get some more points towards the championship. As you have to remember, there's still battles going on in this championship in terms of points, so every point is going to count for a lot of these drivers at the end of the day. So the more points that Pinsker can get, the better off he's going to be. Going to get close, but not quite going to be in the end.
Nope, not going to do it this time by. It was a much more difficult attempt to get anywhere alongside, but this is where you start to talk about drivers trying to find places here and trying to find the extra one place. And there's someone without a rear wing. That's Harrison Bingham, who has run into troubles. We saw him up earlier near the front of the field, and I wonder how this one's happened here, Cam.
Yeah, certainly is going to be interesting to see what's happened here. Not quite sure where he's done it. He's done it at the Digners by the looks of it, based on where I've just seen, and it's all on his own as well. So there wasn't any contact with any car, but we'll see it very, very shortly coming through the S's section and looking all fine and dandy for there. But once he gets to Digners, it's a little bit of a different story, where he comes through the first one quite nicely and then gets on the outside curb for the braking zone of the second one, touches the grass and backs it in.
As easy as that. This is a track which is very old school sometimes in terms of the runoffs. You don't get much at the two Degner corners, so if you do have an off there while you are hitting the brakes, it is difficult. He does continue on, though, with that damaged rear wing, so he'll be able to get himself then a finish if he can possibly manage it towards the end. Now, here again is this battle between Pinska and Volstra as they go down the hill, looking to attack off the exit. But again, it's half a second here for Tom Volstra, who's very good in a straight line. So he's always a tough cookie to crumble. And James J. Pinska this time is going to need to have a couple of laps here, maybe to cool engine temps, maybe to cool tyre temps, and give himself another go in maybe a few laps' time. It's that sort of race we're looking at here.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it's one of those things about this track is because it's just so intense, you've got all this heat build up and all this physicalness really making up this track so difficult and making a race like this so hard on you. So you've really got to, in some respects, be a little bit patient and also try and be a little bit smart in the way that you're driving to make sure you're not burning up the tires, you're not overheating the car and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. So now you start thinking about next stages, next important battles that are going to be coming up. Cedric Beale now is going to find his way through on the limping Harrison Bingham. He'll move to the inside with the Frenchman and comfortably pick that one up. He last pitted 3 laps ago, so he's on a 2-stop strategy here. Here's Cedric Beale as he looks to try and get himself over to the end quite nicely to finish this season off. He's had a really good run this season as Cedric Beale, as now it's James J. Pinska once again, but this time the gap's up now to 0.6 of a second going through 130R. Now half a second as they'll go and jam on the brakes, and Michi Kaiser here is looking like he's dropping time. He's dropped a place here. He's made a mistake, Cam.
Yeah, he certainly has made a mistake by the looks of it, and he's going to have his hands full with Daniel Bieder. As a result, he's just going to blow on it by and gain that position off him. It's not quite sure where the mistakes happened. He's pretty much done the same thing as what Michael did earlier at Spoon Curve.
I wonder if we can have a replay of Michi Kaiser, who was in 4th position, has dropped down to 6th place. We see him right now. He's behind where he needs to be, Daniel Bieder. So here's the look then from the Motum Simulation replay. And this is how easy it is to get it wrong around this place. Kaiser was on a time limit. He knew that he needed a strong soft today to fight for the championship. And ultimately he doesn't have that here. But you can see, goes through the first of the spoon curves, gets on the AstroTurf, and then the back just steps around because there is less grip between the right-hand side tyres and the left-hand side tyres. And as he tries to get up to speed, Daniel Bieder has absolutely none of it and pulls straight on by up into a top 5. Not the issue that maybe Michi Kaiser wanted, but the one that he got.
Yes, certainly. And it was very, very odd because it was exactly the same thing as what Michael did. Literally almost a replication of it. So, yeah, that corner clearly catching out a few drivers, and it's just so easy to do, especially with how wide you end up running through that corner on the way through.
And it is that corner again that we start talking about Spoon, where it all comes apart and all gets put into perspective of how it goes wrong. We're down to just the final 6 laps now in this race. Javi Rose leading this one outright by 10 seconds here over Tom Volstra and James J. Pinska. He went a different strategy route, and my goodness, is this one paying off for him. He looks unflappable right now.
Yeah, he certainly does look like he's going to be pretty much unmatched at this stage with the pace that he's had and the gap that he's got compared to everybody else. And that strategy call, we thought it wasn't going to work, but it certainly has worked in his favor, and he hasn't really been pushing all that hard, well, extremely hard anyway. So he's just been looking after those tires and putting in some nice clean laps while the rest of them behind fight very, very hard.
And speaking of fighting hard, Michi Kaiser and Daniel Bieder, the top 5 definitely not over and done with here. Bieder is being forced to defend for the first time in this race. He has been much more the aggressor, just quietly masterminding moves on the board. And now you start to wonder here if Michi Kaiser has burnt up those tyres. It would have taken a couple of laps to get the feeling back into them after a spin like he had, or a half spin that he had. And there's the mistake that he's looking at right now. How much drive's there on the exit? But Bieder loves that wide line. It gives him the drive here through 200 right, and he's able to pull that gap back out and away again to about half a second. So Michi Kaiser here needs to find a more concrete way of closing up in the dirty air, which has been the age-old question when it comes to this style of vehicle, and we think it might be solved in the next build, Cam, with the news that the Dallara IR01 comes to iRacing.
Yeah, certainly. The prospect of not having dirty air is something that only any sort of sim racing driver could dream of. And with the way that this car's been designed, the IR01, it's going to actually be a reality. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in terms of racing and what it's going to produce in the World Championship sense as well. So yeah, look, looking forward to it. And it's really going to be something that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy at the end of the day.
It's also worth noting with that IR01 that it has the most beautiful sounding 3-litre V10 I have ever heard in sim racing, and that is an understatement to say the least. James J. Penske, though, in what is third position, still wanting what is second position with the Damon Hill helmet on the British racing helmet. He wants to chase down Tom Bolstra. He wants that place, but at this stage, he is again just flicking in and out of 0.4 to 0.6 of a second. It's got to be 0.2 through here if he's got a legitimate shot into the triangle.
Yes, certainly. He's going to have to close that gap up, and he doesn't look like he's going to do it enough this time by through 130R. He's not quite going to be close enough. Not quite. He is very, very deep on the brakes on the way into the triangle, but again, not quite going to be able to get the power down.
Just see a change of position then. Julius Falbush moving up into 9th place. Jacob Swiderski, nothing doing there. He drops back now into 10th. Klaus Siemert is trying to recover through. He's in 11th right now, and he'll want to be on the back of this, as does Reynaldo Augusto. 4 fighting then for the top 10. 4 laps to work it out, and nobody wanting to give an inch. Thomas Beek here has Ray Griffio in here for a little bit of company as well. This is the battle P15, P16.
Yes, certainly. It's still going on even further down the field at Ray Griffin, having to do a little bit of a recovery drive after that spin he had earlier on in the race, and is on through.
Yeah, Michi Kaiser up into 5th place then, has got the place over Daniel Bieder into turn 1, the prime place to get it done, because you get that DRS sling as you go on through and work it out. So Michi Kaiser back in the top 5, but he's now lost 2.5 seconds here to Tapio Markala. So I think 4th is going to be a little bit too far out of reach at this point in time. But really, you should say for Michi Kaiser as a challenger to this championship this year, he has had a very good middle part of the season where he picked up wins at Monza, he picked up the win at Imola, he picked up back-to-back wins, let's not forget, and he really started to say to everyone, I'm the driver. Griffioen is forced to go to the inside and try and pick up that move, but Beek again round the outside holds the place for the time being.
Yeah, certainly. Kaiser's had a pretty good season, especially the back half of it with those wins and solid points hauls. But just that first half really did hurt him, unfortunately. But again, he still put up a very, very good fight in the championship overall. So he's probably going to come back next season, try and get that position. But Bieder's going to launch it up the inside of Michael and gain the position. Both run a little bit deep on the way through the Casio triangle, but Bieder is back inside that top 4.
He's inside that top 5. He just got through a Michi Kaiser there for the 5th place. So he gains that one back again and picks up the place. And now with 3 laps to go on this season, everybody knows. Look at this, though. This is Thomas Knoll trying to get back through on Diogo Oliveira. And he has done that because, remember, Diogo's got very old tyres. And Thomas Knoll breezes through and picks that place.
Yeah, certainly does. Just breeze on by with those much fresher tyres, and Oliveira left there as a sitting duck with nothing really that he can do about it. So it's just going to continue to drop back. He might even fall back into the clutches self-Holbush later on. So keep an eye on that. But certainly Bieder's going to be trying to close up to Tapio Michael, but I don't think it's quite going to be able to happen.
Markala, I believe, is just too far away at this stage. It's half a minute off of the race lead, but it's still half a minute too much off of the race lead right now. There's not much you can say or argue about this one at this stage in terms of the way this has been done. Daniel Bieder starts to pull away from Michi Kaiser, who I think his tyres have just run into troubles. Now, James J. Penske here. There's 2 laps to go for him to try and work out this move on the champions-elect Tom Bolstra. Going through the opening couple of corners, he is again not quite there, but he's got to gear it up this lap, otherwise he's getting no chance on the final lap.
Yeah, certainly. He needs to set this one up very, very well and use the tyre that he's got left in the car to get this move done so he can then defend for the rest of the way, because he knows once he gets on by, it's going to be very, very tough for Volstra to get through, especially through the first and the second sector where it's all technical stuff that he's got the advantage of slightly extra aero from what we can gather. So it's going to be very, very close, and he's closing in on him as well, you can see, but Volstra is slightly better on the exit and very deep on the brakes into the hairpin as well.
Yeah, very deep, but he can get the run off of the exit here of the Dunlop hairpin, and he can start attacking through and gain that gap back up to 0.6 of a second and prove exactly what he is there for at this stage. Now, Cam, that's a little mistake there from James J. Pinsker, heavy over the curb, and he's not going to get as much of a drive through the second part here of Spoon and onto the run up over the bridge to 130R. It's half a second, but half a second too much.
Yeah, it certainly is half a second too much. I don't think he's going to be close enough to use DRS this time, but he might have just been, but we'll see what happens. And again, Volstra with a very, very good exit. Unfortunately, James J. Pinsker with no opportunity into turn number 1.
No, final lap of the season has started as this battle for second. We look at James J. Pinsker, 0.4 of a second through the opening couple of corners. Not quite there at the moment, but he's searching for more, and he needs more here in the final stages. Oliveira's under pressure right now in 8th place. He's got Falbush for company. Bieder's got Kaiser for company. There are battles up and down the order, as we've seen all season long here with SimSpeed TV, and the best part about it is that if you've been all the way through for the ride, this has been a season where you haven't really missed out on too much. This has been a wonderful, wonderful season of Formula action. Not close enough just yet. Same for Diogo Oliveira, who is limping his way around, trying to make sure he's not running on carcasses here to finish this championship off. But this is one where Falbush wants to get through on Oliveira sooner rather than later. But at the moment, he is looking at that drive through the corner. Very nearly got there and didn't. But Javi Rose, got to talk about him right now and where he is out on circuit, because he has been an absolutely sterling driver, making a difference in the strategy. It's a well-won battle today by Javi Rose. A war that I think he's just not been able to get to. Volstra, I think, to run into troubles coming over the start-finish line. So Volstra, I think, may be out of the race very, very late here in this one, which will promote everybody up. And that will be a shame. There is Volstra, sorry, he's had a few technical issues, so that brings him to 2nd place. Then the timing messing up for us, but he is a champion here overall with that. And James J. Pinsker picking up 3rd place. Incredibly happy about that. But here is Julius Falbush wanting to pick up 8th place here with this move on Diogo Oliveira. Can he find the way through? He'll have to go around the outside of 130R if he wants this one. Pick it up for the triangle. This one's going to be defended every stage of the way on the brakes. And that's a straight-on braking zone for Diogo Oliveira, who is completely out of tyre. Couldn't slow it down. Falbush then will jump up into 8th place with that one over the line with a very, very strong finish to this championship and this season.
Yeah, very, very strong finish. Not quite the way that Diogo Oliveira will have hoped to have finished, ending up 12th in the end after those tyres letting go, unfortunately. But what a season it's been for the likes of Javi Rose and especially Tom Volstra to just consistently get points in the end and end up champion.
Yep, and how Tom Volstra has done it is through consistency in the early part of the season, turning to victories right near the end. It's been a wonderful season, but we'll get official classified results for you up on your screen. The final official race that we have seen that will be broadcasted. There are still chances on Monday, but the chances are incredibly slim to try and get yourself back in with that level of points. Javi Rose, though, picks up the win with 35 laps worth of action, wins by 13.5 seconds over Volstra, then Pinsker, 2nd and 3rd. Tapio Markala will finish 4th with Daniel Bieder in 5th. And Club DH have the next 4 positions. Michi Kaiser there in 6th position. We'll take a look at the Motum Simulation replay, though, very quickly. No, we won't, because that's someone pressing a button behind the scenes. Thomas Snell gets 7th place with Julius Falbush in 8th position, and Klaus Siemetz there in 9th place. Jacob Swiderski, though, will take a very, very important top 10 finish. He did lose out late, though, that position to Klaus Siemetz.
Yeah, he certainly did, unfortunately, but across the page, you can have Augusto in 11th. Oliveira comes home in 12th after tyres letting go on the last lap. Chantal going to bring it home in 13th from 20th on the grid, so good recovery there. Cedric Beale in 14th. John Pitt Kelly rounding up the top 15. Ray Griffin comes home in 16th. Thomas Veek in 17th, and you're going to have Hank Harrison Bingham crawling home in 18th, a lap down, and then your retirees, Thomas Bartosik, Igor Lotti, Dowding Piatella, and Dan Buffton.
Those are the 23 that got themselves ready for racing action and ran themselves into trouble. Big surprise was Marty Piatella's issue here today, that he couldn't get himself over the line and all sorted out. But next time we will come to you will be very, very soon with SimSpeed TV. There's so much action that happens up and down sim racing. And of course, after tomorrow, on Monday, it will be Tuesday, and it will mean that, oh, sorry, tomorrow's Sunday. After Sunday and Monday, and then it will be Tuesday. On Tuesday, it is build week. It is week 13. Get all the new toys that get brought on through, and those will be fantastic. Keep in mind, and there's so much sim racing action that goes throughout every single week here with us at SimSpeed TV. Massive shout out to Motum Simulations on the replay, Scott Fountain on the cameras, and Cam Dance alongside me for the season. My name's Jake Sperry, and it has been a season which everyone's been turning around, looking at and going, this is where we have fun. This is where we have an amazing battle. This is where every season matters so much. When we saw walk-away victories at the back end of the Williams era, the McLaren era came along, and now it is time for Tom Volstra to smile with that level of performance. He's got himself his title, pretty much elect at this stage. We can't confirm it till a couple of days' time, but there is no way that he's going to be caught right now. Javier Rose and Michi Kaiser, they fought him all the way, but it is Volstra's time to shine as he moves fiercely forward. We'll see you very soon here with SimSpeed TV.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got tracks and he's going with the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Six very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing!
Racely to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Bronte goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
Is howling down to the inside.
I tried. There's contact though.
Slide left of the racetrack. Chris Benner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schubert, there's a little bit of